Well, welcome everybody back to the Flying Dog House. Doing a special edition of the Pilot's Lounge. Today's episode is there hope? So I wanted to take a minute to offer at least some perspective, both mine and I also solicited some folks to give their take on the state of Flight Sim 2024, and I got a lot of interesting answers. So we're gonna dive into some of that. I think I'm not much different than the average bear in the sim. I certainly don't expect a product of this magnitude to be perfect. And quite frankly, parts of 2024 are outstanding and brilliant. And there are other aspects to the product that I'm not sure what bucket they go in. Is it despair, rage, a mixture? So, doing my level best to maintain a proper perspective here. We're not talking about life and death, but I think there are some lessons to be learned. And I'm not sure, given the history of Microsoft and Asobo in the flight sim space, that they're going to learn the lesson. I think, and we can get into it a little deeper later, but I think their quality assurance testing is abysmal. There's just absolutely no excuse for it. There is also a massive amount of what I would call product instability. Because this product is being streamed, we are at the mercy of the infrastructure on the back end. And there are times when it just falls flat on its face. I'll just give you a quick example. I'm in the process right now of developing some scenery, and the product failed to load 4 times in a row. That's crazy. No changes to config. Standard operating day. Loading in. And it won't load. Or it loads and then no Earth scenery behind anything. Or I go to the world screen and then it crashes to desktop. For no apparent rhyme or reason. And then last night, as I was continuing to do some testing, once I finally got into my scenery, I was having issues with the controllers, and some of my controller settings had just disappeared. Microsoft, you can do better than this. Asobo, you can do better than this. Your community deserves better than this. So what I'm going to try to do over the course of this video, I'm not sure what the link is going to be, but I'm going to try to talk about some of the things that I think that are wonderful and continue to talk about some things that I feel are less than. I mean, one of my sticking points on the product really is stability in QA testing. And it's almost like some folks in the sim community are suffering from Stockholm syndrome in terms of making excuses for the lack of delivery on some of this stuff. I just flat don't get it. This product is wonderful and brings great joy. There is a lot of stuff about this hobby that is just incredible. So anyway, I am certainly looking forward to moving forward and not being 7 months in now. I put 6 months later on the title here because I started working on this video, I guess about a month ago. But I did want to gather some perspective from other folks, because one of the things that I would say in all candor is that people have different experiences. So to that end, let's switch gears for a moment and take a look at some of those different perspectives. Okay, so I've switched over to Flightsim 2024, and I've loaded onto the menu here. So back to one of the points that I made in the intro of the video, I think that all of us have different focuses and items of interest in the sim, and I think that that Microsoft and Asobo have tried to, address those with, call it what you want, a little bit of a pivot to what's being offered inside the product. To be honest, in thinking about career mode, and I started career mode and managed to, despite all of the crashes to desktop and issues that were really rampant, particularly early on, I really haven't gone back into career mode because I don't want to waste my time with a crash. Not crashing the plane, that's just going to happen, but crash of the software. After you put your effort and your energy into something like completing, a step inside of career mode, and you have to do it 3 or 4 times, then that's just not cool. We have limited heartbeats as we fly around in space on this big blue marble. So I'd like for the time that we spend in the sim to be productive, but I really haven't spent much time with career mode. I'd be very, very interested in the comments below. How many of you are spending the bulk of your time in the career menu? To be honest, I have not ventured into activities or the Challenge League. At some point, I guess I will take a look at some of that stuff. But quite frankly, I spend most of my time in free flight, particularly since heavily involved in the group flight community. And really, the type of flying that I'm doing really kind of lends itself to free flight. So, to that end, maybe it would be interesting. Let's just check out the experience here. I'm just going to, as an example, I'm going to go into free flight, and so I've got the C-130J loaded, which is what I was trying to fly around last night as I was doing some testing. And let's load into an airfield. All right, let's go to Edwards. Okay. And we're going to spawn into the runway here at Edwards. 23 left is fine. So that looks good. Not a problem. But one of the things that I really do love, and I want to give Microsoft a shout out for this. The EFB is a win. The flight planner works well. Being able to share flight plans and save them and share them with other people in the community, like Xbox users. I think that's great. And it works very nicely. It's easy to use. It's pretty doggone intuitive. So I'm really not, I am not a negative Nancy, but you know, I'm also going to speak truth when truth needs to be spoken. And I'll offer my opinion, and it's just my opinion. It doesn't make it right, wrong, or indifferent. But anyway, I did want to give Microsoft a shout out, you know, for this. I think there's a lot of functionality baked in. We're not going to do a deep dive on that during this particular video. But I think if you want to put a win in the Microsoft Flight Sim 2024 column, it's the EFB. It's solid. So thank you, Microsoft and Asobo, for the development work on this. Okay, so we're loading here into Edwards, and let's go ahead and start our flight. And I do have a high-speed internet connection, so we'll see how my connectivity fares for today. We'll see how long the wheel of WoW spins in the lower right-hand corner of the screen. And again, there's a lot of variability, easy for me to say, a lot of variability to what you experience on this page. And obviously part of it is going to be determined by the assets that you have loading in. All right, so we're now in the cockpit sitting in the runway at Edwards. So one of the things I was experiencing last night was I took off and flying along, moved my flaps to up to take them off, and immediately my controllers stopped responding. I was also noticing that there was some things that were wonky going on with my engine gauges and the amount of RPM that I was getting. So I went back and took a look, and lo and behold, my settings had gotten changed. I do use SPAD Next, and I had SPAD Next loaded, and that was not contributing to any issues or problems. But I did several restarts, and you know, after making the edits to my config, no harm, no foul, it started working. So yeah. Let's go ahead and take off here, just for grins and giggles. Run it up, I hope. Parking brake coming off. And this is the Captain Sim C-130, by the way. I really enjoyed this particular aircraft. All right, we can go ahead and start our rotate here. And get our gear up. A lot of the scenery from Microsoft Flight Sim 2020 does work in 2024. Even though it's not, you know, optimized in terms of the new level of detail modeling that we now need to worry about as scenery developers. But this is This is Edwards. It's freeware available over on Flightsim.to. But I think that, I guess the other opinion that I would share here is that we've had a lot of large and small developers, both professional and, you know, folks who are giving back to the community just because I think the level of documentation on release was not good. I still don't feel like the software development toolkit is appropriately documented. There are things in there that are still wonky. But, you know, people are rolling up their sleeves and trying to help us out in terms of our experience. All right, so I'm going to stop recording on this. Okay, so I spawned in over at First Flight, and I'm also using Parallel 42's campout utility just to hang out for a bit and talk about some of the findings around 2024. So I like the walk around feature, believe it or not. I think it definitely adds some immersion depending on where you are in the world and what you're up to for that particular sim adventure. I think it can add. I think there are utilities like Parallel 42's campout utility that also add to the experience. So I thought we'd pull up a chair around the 152 and put the tin out, fix a little breakfast, and just talk about the sim for a bit. All right, so what have I found from talking to folks? Well, first up, I think one of the most consistent pieces of feedback that I have gotten around 2024 is that folks are pleased with the load time to start the software, and then also being able to load into an airport. And certainly that is faster than Microsoft Flight Sim 2020. And we'll stay away from the not likes. We'll just work our way through the like list first. So other things that people found pleasing or intriguing: the ground texture quality. Yeah, I think it's definitely on its way, particularly with mountain scenery. I do think that some of the foliage and fauna need to continue to be tweaked, because I don't think daisies and buttercups grow everywhere. So at any rate, that's a nitpick on my part. But anyway, I do think that particularly the mountain textures are very much improved. And if you're looking for something absolutely stunning in 2024, then go check out the Grand Canyon and the work that they have put in with that around Grand Canyon National Park. So check that out. All right, so what else? Overall clarity of the scenery, yep, I think that's true, although I do think that some of the views in the cockpit outside of the air, looking outside from inside the airplane, easy for me to say, is a little bit blurry, but I do get the gist of the content that the person was trying to relay here. I don't have virtual reality, so I have no conception or really even an appreciation. But I know that with Sim Update 2, that was a major step forward for the folks who are using the virtual reality headsets. So good on Microsoft for helping those folks out with that experience. I think early on in the release there were some definite VR struggles that were taking place. All right, so that's that. One of my favorite things in the 2024 universe is actually the EFB. I think that it is very, very well done. I love the map. I love the fact that you can share flight plans with folks on Xbox, because that was a real pain, particularly if you had multiple waypoints that you were using for a scenic trip. Have fun on putting all that stuff in. So anyway, I know that has been greatly appreciated. And also find the pop-up with the checklist to be helpful too, especially when you're learning a new aircraft. So I think they've done a great job with that. And the other thing that people called out was the quality and the fun factor for the Draco X. It's now a part of the base package in the sim. That aircraft is outstanding. It has rapidly become one of my favorite things to fly. So if you have not done any bush flying, you need to go check that one out. It is absolutely stunning. All right, what else? I think that's really covering the bulk of the feedback that I got from my survey of folks, unscientific, all that. I think one of the things that I would share is frustrations. Just choosing my words here. And there was some consistent feedback with this too. Having to load the sim multiple times to have a successful start out and able to actually execute a flight. That has been problematic from the get-go in Flightsim 2024. And to be honest, I don't think it's improved with the 2 updates. So that continues to be a bit of a struggle bus. Also specifically called out was continuing to deal with the shortcomings, particularly around model matching with group flights. So really would like to see some progress made on that front. It's hard to have an immersive experience when the F-15 Strike Eagle is rendered as a Airbus A320. So anyway, I'm just kind of leave that one at that. Also seeing slow load times for the cockpit instruments to render. Sometimes it will spawn an aircraft in, and then you won't have any engine sounds, requiring a out and in, sometimes a restart of the sim to fix that. And again, I am taking an educated guess that that's related to synchronizing of data and grabbing stuff from the cloud. So just something we have to deal with. And as a content creator, I have to pay special attention to it, because it's a little bit disappointing to start working on a piece of content and then have to re-record it because of that. At any rate, what else? The configuration menu, I think, is the other thing that I'd probably spend some time griping about, is that it's just so slow. I mean, if you click on a selection, then it goes out and tries to repaint the screen every single time. Well, I definitely could do without that. So we're just going to go on a walk while we finish the rest of this. The other thing that I have noticed, and also pointed out with the group feedback, is sometimes the configuration menu settings that you choose for a particular aircraft don't get remembered, or they disappear, and then you have to recreate them. I think we've experienced that several times. Also have seen, you know, a fair bit of crashing to desktop on the world map, really without any discernible, you know, repeatable what's causing this. So it seems to be highly random. If we could, Microsoft, if we could put that in the trash can, that would be great. Scene retiling, I think the issue with that doesn't seem to be as prevalent with 2024. So I think when we're getting good connectivity to the servers and we're getting that data streamed, it can be quite stunning. All right, welcome to the pilot hut here at First Flight. A nice visitor map here of the Wright Memorial here in front of us. I've also had several folks point out to me that they've had to do several reinstalls of the product or a repair install, and I think that's very, very aggravating. And I don't want to flog the dead horse, but you know, we go into the game to fly, not to have to deal with, you know, multiple tries to have a go at being able to have a fly. And I'm not sure that the level of frustration that I hear and see on group flights is necessarily making its way to Asobo and to Microsoft. Although people generally don't hold back on the forum what they really think. And it's a complex, you know, system. Totally get that. So please don't misunderstand my commentary. But there seems to be a lack of depth, if you will, in terms of quality assurance testing, and several people pointed that out to me as well. It's very frustrating to get a new update and then have it break stuff, or things that were included in a service release beta that don't make it into the product, or there are problems that are reported that are, you know, not just cosmetic, that tend not to get addressed. So it's better to have less releases with higher level of quality delivery, in my opinion. And also I think that you know, for those of who do use third-party tools, what they won't say directly to Microsoft, but I can say because I'm a small channel, that there's a lot of frustration with the level of communication and seeming lack of respect from Microsoft and Asobo in terms of what those small developers actually bring to the table and how they really contribute to the overall experience in the sim. So I think that the level of communication for future releases for third-party developers needs to have some attention, and that level of attention needs to be based on taking care of the entire community, not just your favorite developers. Let's just say it that way. All right, there we go. Made our way all the way over to the memorial. You can see the Atlantic. Listening to the grass crunch under our feet. All right, so what would I say in terms of the final analysis for me, 2020 versus 2024? If I want to have a reliable flight experience and not have to worry about something going wonky, I'm still reaching first for Flightsim 2020. There are still some aircraft that haven't made their way over into 24, so that's one reason to stay. I have some scenery that I am continuing to use that is 2020 specific, and some of that is going to remain so. We're just going to build net new for 2024 for some of the stuff we've done, although we're in the process of repairing what we can. But any net new development is going to take place in 24, more than likely. We're still on the regular offering group flights in Microsoft Flight Sim 2020. Although we have increased the number of 2024 flights, and people are starting to host some of those on their own, but our regular Sunday and Monday gatherings are still in 2020, and I really foresee that continuing over the short term for sure. And then we have Tuesday and Wednesday evenings that we host things in 2024. And folks are more than welcome to ad hoc host whatever they like on whatever platform. But just too many problems and issues yet in terms of everybody being able to spawn in, get loaded, get going without having to restart the sim multiple times in order to try to participate. So I guess that's that. Again, this is my open invitation to Microsoft and Asobo to make an attempt to do a better job to take care of your community. And as much as we appreciate those free aircraft, I think the overriding consensus from folks would be we just appreciate it the next time we push something out, that it's not causing us more issues than it's fixing. At any rate, looks like we got some folks down in the parking lot. Cars parked down there. All right, hopefully you got something out of this. I guess if you are experiencing issues with 2024, you are not alone. But I would like to hear, what your experiences have been in the comments below. Just looking forward to seeing what else we get in July with update 3. To see if we've continued to make positive step forward. And there has been positive step forward too. I want to make sure that I reiterate that. But some of this is just, anyway, needs to be worked on. All right, I'm going to leave it here. Make my way back down to the campsite and go have a fly. I hope everybody is keeping well. And until next time, cheers, y'all.